Okay, here we go. The conflict in the Middle East in May of 2021 caused a significant spike in anti-Semitic incidents across Canada because, as is the usual case when things happen abroad in Israel, it affects the communities here. Edmonton was not immune. I was awoken during the night by my security advisor to let me know that people were driving around a predominantly Jewish neighborhood looking for the Jews knocking on their doors. The rise in Jew hatred has also been seen in COVID conspiracy theories and in Holocaust denial and distortion. Equating COVID vaccination measures with the Holocaust has been a grave insult to Holocaust survivors and the memories of the 6 million who were murdered in an industrialized attempt to eradicate the Jewish people. Anti-Semitism is the hatred of Jews, Judaism, and can include hatred of the Jewish state. Our ethnicity and ancestry tie us to the Levant and a return to our homeland in the Middle East. Equating Israel, a democratic country in the Middle East, with Nazism is further example of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism exists in many forms, from stereotyping to scapegoating to violence, or even the desired erasure of the Jewish people. It targets Jews individually and collectively and has adapted over time to falsely link Jews to whatever the societal ills of the era may be. It can be traced back centuries, but our people are resilient and have persevered. Anti-Semitism did not end with the horrors of the Holocaust. The hatred of Jews persists in the 21st century in both overt ways, like taking hostages in a synagogue during Shabbat services or painting swastikas on the side of a building, or in more subtle ways, such as retaliation against the Jews for the acts of the Israeli government. We knew it was time to bring these conversations out from the dark. In early November, we were presented with an opportunity of a microgrant to shine a light on anti-Semitism with a community-wide initiative to take place during Hanukkah. My communications director, Tammy Weinberg, came up with the idea of a mosaic as an opportunity to engage the community in discussions around anti-Semitism and its impacts. We commissioned mosaic artist Louis Lavoie to help us create an art piece using tiles made by community members on how they have been impacted by anti-Semitism and to offer messages of hope. It was time we brought this conversation out into the open. Too many were having it behind closed doors. We were so appreciative that Mayor Sohi came out to the community event and sat with our teens and had very impactful conversations with them. They felt heard and validated and learned they don't have to feel unsafe speaking out. This was a turning point for many of them who were bewildered by what they had experienced over social media and in their schools in the spring. Councillor Jennifer Rice and MLA Lauren Dack also joined us, and we had conversations about religious and cultural customs and about what gives us hope. Hatred of Jews is not solely a Jewish problem. Anti-Semitism is a sign of an intolerant society, and by ignoring it, we grant society a broader license to hate. We provided 2 sets of prompts, one for teens and adults and another for younger children. Mayor Sohi made a tile about fear based on his experience of racism and knowing firsthand how people can be impacted by it. In all its forms, anti-Semitism fosters fear, alienation, and normalizes hate. One thing that gives me hope is a sense of solidarity in combating anti-Semitism, whether among community members who have differing religious practices or varying political leanings, but who really come together to ensure we support one another, or with non-Jewish Edmontonians who come out to say, I hear you and I stand with you, and I really appreciate the emails that many of them send me when they see anti-Semitic events happening. At our community day, we had long-standing community volunteers and people of all ages come out to just engage with the project and with the conversations. They really appreciated the outlet where they could discuss the impacts on them and their families, whether it was intergenerational trauma, social media impacts, or microaggressions that they experience. Senator Paula Simons came out as a community member. She was joining a teenage relative of hers who had experienced anti-Semitism in the classroom over Zoom, and they made a tile together. I love her expression of chutzpah. That's Yiddish for nerve or gumption, and that's what it takes to face it head on, and certainly what it took for this child to face her teacher about it. Community members are rightfully concerned about the increase in hate-motivated crimes and assaults. Some have lived through this in previous countries, and some are survivors who are deeply concerned by the rise of populism that we are witnessing. The trauma of seeing swastikas in downtown Edmonton, or knowing that people are knocking on doors on your street looking for the Jews, can be quite triggering. Never again is a motto of Holocaust educators and the reason that they continue in that work. Seeing the de-Jewification of the Holocaust, the way it's becoming a universalized symbol, is a grave frustration. It is trivializing, dehumanizing, and dangerous, especially with fewer survivors around to tell their stories. As a community leader, my fear is that our youth internalize the anti-Semitism that they are experiencing on social media and in their peer groups. And I already hear of so many who are afraid to express their Jewish identity, to wear their kippas out in public or the Stars of David, and fear for publicly supporting Israel. Having them participate in the Mosaic Project was really energizing and reaffirming to me. The Jewish Federation's values of loving kindness, repair of the world, and care for one another were evident throughout the project from its inception to the work of the individual community members who expressed hope and displayed their Jewish pride. All individuals should care about anti-Semitism in order to build a society that is more compassionate, educated, and committed to the value of human dignity. Making hatred of Jews socially unacceptable requires Jewish allies to be invested in creating a more compassionate and caring community. I'm also now deeply aware that I should be wearing high heels when pictures are going to be taken. On another note, I was so inspired by the children at Talmud Torah Elementary School. When asked about how they can be beacons of light and spark hope, they were thoughtful and they were deliberate in their artwork that gives great expression to their Jewish pride and the integration of their values around peace and loving kindness. Because, as you can see, in shining a light on a painful moment, the collective expression is a beautiful mosaic of hope, peace, and loving kindness.